early on, our staircase booth was the only one mentioning AI. Now you go to any industry conference and AI is on every single booth. And now I'm starting to see people taking AI for granted. And that's really what AI is going to do, is going to take away the hard skills that we've been sort of forced to do and start to bring our soft skills to the forefront of the work that we're doing. AI continues to evolve. We will see it probably more in the support space, where we can take that contextual and historical data and figure out how did we previously respond.
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Petrie, VP of Research at BARC, where I lead the data management practice and focus quite a bit on the intersection of data and AI. Really excited to have the opportunity today to speak with and learn from Kate Neal. Kate is a customer service professional. Specifically, she's Senior Director of Customer Success at Gainsight. Now, Gainsight is a company whose software platform helps organizations of all types improve customer service. They have products that enhance customer service, customer education, product experience, and community management. Most interestingly for our discussion, they are using artificial intelligence in a variety of ways to improve the customer experience, and we're going to talk about that today. Kate, why don't I let you introduce yourself, and I will ask you to talk about where you surf. I'm a fellow surfer or a former surfer and have fond memories of that out on the West Coast.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate you having me today. Kate Neal, Senior Director of Customer Success at Gainsight. I was brought into the Gainsight team through their acquisition of Staircase AI, which I was one of the early employees of that startup. I've been a customer success professional since about 2011. My specialty has been going into early mid-stage startups and building the customer success function and team from the ground floor. So have been really excited to, throughout that career, see the evolution of CS, and now even more so kind of helping usher that in through AI and leveraging AI in that industry. I taught myself how to surf on the Oregon coast. Actually, I lived in Portland, Oregon for many, many years. So that was very cold. And then I lived in Florida for a little bit, surfed a bit there. They actually have pretty low waves for a beach.
Warmer water than fewer waves.
Yes. But right now I'm actually building a home in Costa Rica, right on the beach. So that'll be kind of my ultimate surf dream.
That's the ultimate surf destination. Good for you. I did it for 6 years out in the Bay Area, have good memories of it. It felt pretty cold, especially in the winter. And so I'm sure Portland was even more extreme in that regard.
Yeah. Definitely.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm looking forward to this conversation. We're at this interesting point with AI and Gen AI adoption. Last fall, I was expecting a decline in enthusiasm and more big blowups and the risks of AI becoming more apparent, because that's the common pattern with technology. We're now well into our third year of adoption, and the evidence is that adoption is doing the opposite. It's accelerating, that executives are increasing investment in AI and Gen AI, and they have a fair amount of optimism about the business results, also confidence about their ability to govern and reduce risk. So, pretty interesting time. We could be in the midst of a generational shift. And customer success, I think, customer service is a really cool use case because it embodies so many of the advantages and risks of AI. Most of us we've all had positive and negative experiences with automated attendance. And when you have a customer problem, as a customer, you want to talk to a human. So AI can help that, enrich that conversation. It could also backfire in various ways. So maybe we could just start the conversation by, Kate, you could tell me a little bit more about Gainsight, what the firm does, and how AI plays a role.
Yeah, so Gainsight is a leading customer success platform in the market. It's definitely been one of the bigger players in CS industry thought leadership over the years. And that company has put together a suite of products to give us a customer operating system, right? So everything from how we engage with our customers, how we engage with our team, how we track their activities and the efficiency of that. That's all kind of under the Gainsight umbrella. And ultimately, the goal behind the products and what we offer customers is giving them the ability to do their jobs with customers more effectively and efficiently and productively while yielding the outcomes that we're all looking for, right? Which is a reduction in churn, increased retention, and grow the customers that you have. And so AI has become a big part of that conversation, not just at Gainsight, but as you mentioned, in the industry overall, right? A couple of years ago, when you would go to industry conferences, early on, our staircase booth was the only one mentioning AI. Now you go to any industry conference and AI is on every single booth, every single marketing material. So I think we've sort of overcome the hump of what is AI? Is this something that's going to be part of the future? Now we've accepted AI is the future. And so now we need to figure out, how does that intersect with the work that we do as humans? How does it empower us as humans? And then what can we do to kind of change the industry overall to have better results in a quicker fashion?
I want to pull in some threads here in terms of the technical details of what AI models you use and what the use cases are and so forth. But maybe to start, we could understand where we are in the adoption patterns related to the application of AI for customer service in particular. And the reason is that we've seen, as I said, there's mounting evidence. This is in BARC surveys that we're closing right now. And also, for example, Randy Bean's survey with the Executive Leadership Council that looked at chief data officers and other CXOs. He found that 98% of them are increasing their investments in AI, including Gen AI, 2025 over 2024. 77% of them have guardrails and safeguards in place to do it right. These are good things. So there's newfound confidence about the results and so forth. But one of the few things that went down was, if they look at the primary benefit of AI, last year there were about 23% of respondents said customer service. Enhancing the customer experience was a primary benefit. And that actually went down to 17%. Not a big drop, maybe not statistically significant, but it did show some moderating enthusiasm about applying AI to customer service. What are your thoughts on that? I know that Gainsight has done more granular survey work on this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's really happening.
Yeah, so very interesting that your data is showing that, because we run an annual state of CS report, and this year we specifically focused on the state of AI in customer success. And we ran two surveys, one in April, one in October. And what was interesting is, in the April survey, we asked how many CS teams are using AI day to day. And there was about 52% that responded favorably, we're using AI. Then in October, we asked that same question, and that number went down from 52% to 44%. So to your point, not a drastic drop, but a drop that I think none of us expected. And in my mind, what drove that is, early on in the journey of AI, a lot of what folks were doing is going to something like a Chat GPT or a Claude or something like that, and you have a blank space where you need to give it a prompt to extract value from it, right? It's a point solution of AI. And a lot of that is being used to interpret and respond to customer emails or support tickets. And I think the impact of that for the day-to-day user wasn't significant enough to drive them to continue using it. We're all used to writing emails, so while it may save a little bit of time, especially if you go to a Chat GPT, it doesn't have the context behind the customer message, which is oftentimes what you need to generate a thoughtful and helpful response. And so I think what we need to see in the industry is, one, enabling teams a little bit better to help them with those point solutions, but then also to be implementing strategies and tools in our tech stack that weave AI into everything that we're doing. So not just using generative AI, but using natural language processing to read and interpret communications, and then to be able to crunch that data across the customer base at large and start to understand, what are the activities that are driving value for our customers, what are the things that are creating friction for them, and then what can we do with that? So thinking a little bit more broadly about the implications and practicalities of AI versus just using it for kind of transactional things.
Great thoughts there. And that touches on some similar types of findings. We found consistently that a top concern, if not the top concern, about obstacles to AI success is training people to use it well, reskilling, to a lesser degree, hiring new talent. but helping people, equipping them with the right knowledge, technical and otherwise, in terms of best practices to use AI well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, if we go down a level, into what some of the key use cases are, because Gen AI sucks the oxygen out of the room. Everyone's excited about that. But in most cases, Gen AI is used alongside other types of more traditional, often more reliable AI. So predictive machine learning, customer recommendation engines, and so forth. And so you've got not just text inputs, but you can have tabular inputs. So say customer records with rows and columns and trustworthy things like that. Maybe you could talk about how that all mixes together to address some of the top use cases in Gainsight's customer base.
I think something interesting about Gen AI is, in my mind, it's sort of the last part of the AI journey, right? That's what a lot of people are focusing on. But to get to Gen AI, right, to get to a relevant Gen AI output, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, right? When we were building Staircase, we built a lot of different machine learning models that are tuned specifically to customer success, right? And that's kind of what you miss if you go to something like ChatGPT and you input something. It's going to give you something vanilla because it doesn't understand customer success. So a good example of that is if you are trying to assess customer sentiment in an email that they've sent you, and you put this email into ChatGPT, and the email is from the customer, and it says, "Love you guys, love your product. Our CSM is awesome. It's been great working with you guys, but we're not going to renew," right? Budget cuts or whatever the case might be. If you put that into ChatGPT and ask what the sentiment of that is, it's going to be like, "They love you. That's amazing. Look at how much they love you guys," right? But if you put that into Gainsight, it's going to tell you this is a churn risk, right? This is not good. And that's because we've built models that understand contextually customer success. And all of that behind the scenes is how we get to a relevant Gen AI, right? I talked before about throwing something into ChatGPT. It doesn't have the context. If you use a platform like Gainsight and Staircase, you actually have the whole context of that customer ecosystem, all of the communications, who are we talking to, what's been going on behind the scenes, so that when you generate something AI to send to them, it's a lot more personalized, it's a lot more accurate, it's a lot more valuable to them. And even to get to that point, we have to pull all of those data sources together and then put that through all these machine learning models to even give us that output. So something I've noticed in the industry right now is AI prior was like nobody really knew what it was. How does it work? Everyone's a little scared of it. And now I'm starting to see people taking AI for granted. They're getting to that point and they're not understanding all of the work that went behind the scenes, all of the data crunching and pulling stuff together and aggregating. And that's the power that AI brings to us that humans previously had the mental load to do. I, as a CS leader, need to go chase my team to go input stuff into a system so I can extract value from it. How much time did that take me? Versus now, I cut all of that work out, right? I don't need my team to input anything because AI is going to do it for them. I don't need to go, put together the data. I can extract the data and then I can focus on what do I learn from the data and then how do I put that into practice?
So this is a great example of an AI truth that kind of applies across sectors and functions and use cases, which is that AI in itself, a model in itself, I view as kind of a commodity, which is maybe a strange thing to say given the billions that Microsoft and OpenAI are investing in training their large language models. But in the end, the model itself does not offer differentiated value to someone who uses it, because anyone can subscribe for $20 a month to ChatGPT, the basic service there, or get the free version. What offers differentiated value is when you apply it to your own domain-specific data. And so you're talking about ways to do that. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about how you apply it to the domain-specific data within the domain of customer service. Are you fine-tuning a Gen AI model on your content? Are you using natural language processing just to understand that? Or maybe you're doing retrieval augmented generation where you find the right relevant documents and put it into the prompt automatically to help assistants?
Yeah, so at a tactical level, I think, using NLP to read and interpret customer communications and give us things like real-time sentiment is something that is going to really evolve our industry. Prior to AI, a lot of times when we needed to understand customer sentiment or voice of customer, we're depending on point in time surveys like NPS or CSAT. And what we've learned from that is that it's very dismal response rates. Oftentimes, it's not giving you a clear picture because it's like one person versus the account. Something that AI brings us is the ability to use natural language processing to read and interpret those customer communications and give us as unbiased a view as possible of what that customer sentiment is. And so then we can use that data to understand the voice of the customer overall rather than just understanding it in like transactional account by account basis. And so when we can gather all of that data about what's happening in the customer lifecycle, apply AI to it, now we can start to get recommended next action for the human to take, right? Instead of me having to parse through everything and put the story together, I can look at a generative AI summary of what's happened with this account. And then I can use a recommendation engine that's looked back at other things that we've done, the results of those things, and then it can start to drive behavior change with my team of ICs who are out there doing the work. And so I think kind of being able to take a very broad look at what's going on with the data and then have that in the transactional day-to-day customer engagements is what's going to help our CSMs kind of take them away from the admin and sort of the manual data logging that they're doing and focusing on that sort of thing into focusing more on soft skills and building the relationships with humans, because ultimately that's what business is human relationships. And that's really what AI is going to do, is going to take away the hard skills that we've been sort of forced to do and start to bring our soft skills to the forefront of the work that we're doing.
What we're seeing is that a lot of the use cases right now are folks using Gen AI and more broadly multifaceted applications or even somewhat autonomous agents as assistants, background assistants. The human is still the face of the company and the face that's presented to the customer. And I think that's probably the primary use cases that you're supporting right now. You still have an expert, empathetic human inspecting inputs, governing outputs, and then taking its advice, the advice of the assistant, in order to work with customers. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, the human is always going to have the context, right? The AI has some of the context, but not all of it, right? So an example is we can tune a system to give us an alert if a customer has gone dark. Now, pre AI, if I'm a CSM and I have a book of 50 accounts, probably I'm giving attention to the ones that are the loudest, right? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I don't really think, oh, I have this 10% part of my book of business that I haven't heard from because it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. Now AI can tell me, hey, we've got dark customers. And I, as a human, I can use the context that I have to understand, is that signal actionable, right? Because an example that I can think of is maybe I get an account dark, but my customer account is based in Europe and they're all on summer break in August or September, right? So the dark isn't necessarily a worrisome signal versus I get a customer dark for another account and I can use the data to see over time they've actually been slowly disengaging. That's a signal of risk, right? That I can get on top of, but I have the context as a human to say, hey, they have been really engaged with us and now I'm starting to see the dip versus I don't need to worry about that because they're on vacation, right? So AI gives us the signals. And then as humans, it's up to our intelligence and context to interpret those into how we take the action.
How much of a problem and risk are hallucinations by Gen AI in customer service?
Yeah, I mean, like this is why I think we're not at the point yet where we can just let AI run loose in what we're sending customers. I'm sure anybody that's played around with Chat GPT has found it wrong on things. I've debated like Shakespeare play plot points with Chat GPT a lot. So I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not what happens in that play. And so I think there needs to be a degree of human oversight. I think down the road, as AI continues to evolve, we will see it probably more in the support space, where we can take that contextual and historical data and figure out how did we previously respond. A lot of the questions that come into support are pretty repeatable, right? So then we can start to use AI if we've already responded to other customers and it has that. I feel like we can get to the point where we feel pretty comfortable that that's going out to a human. But I think when we go up the chain, right, to the relationships that the CSMs and their leaders generally are building within these relationships, I don't know how soon we'll get to the point where I would feel comfortable letting AI send an email to a CRO of one of my accounts for me. But I would be comfortable getting that recommendation from AI, making my own changes to it and sending that off. And so I think we need to be careful about how much power we're giving AI and how much autonomy we're giving AI today, right? I think in the future that will change, but I do think we'll see it change more in the support and kind of like AI agent.
Okay. So do you have thoughts on the ways in which data teams, application teams, and AI teams should work together as they build, either as they implement commercial off-the-shelf AI solutions for customer service or start to customize that? Are there best practices that you're seeing about how to make that happen?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the age old adage of good data in, good data out, or vice versa is true. So I think in terms of, one thing that we hear a lot from customers that I'm sure we've experienced ourselves is CRM data is messy. When you connect, an AI system to your CRM, if you're pulling in bad data, that bad data may fuel insights that aren't accurate, right? So I think from a very basic perspective, we need to make sure that we have solid data, accurate data, up-to-date data. And then from a tech stack perspective, I think that one thing that AI is giving us is solving sort of this problem that we've had in B2B SaaS in general and also customer success of really siloed teams, siloed tech stacks. And AI gives us the ability to figure out how do those work together? Like, where's the intersectionality between what we're doing in all of these platforms and how AI can kind of be the common thread of that. So I think making sure that all of your tools in the tech stack are talking to each other so that you have that holistic data set to give to AI, natural language processing, machine learning models to give us the best outputs. And so I think breaking down the silos, making sure you have accurate data and that your systems are able to be interconnected. So you've got kind of a central hub of that data to put into the AI models will give you the best outputs.
Great stuff. So, Kate, this has been very educational. Any parting words to kind of summarize for customer service leaders who know they should get started on using AI? What should they do first? Where can they get started?
Yeah, good question. I think the best place to start is acknowledging that AI is the future and that you can avoid it, right? If you're not using AI today, you're already behind. You can catch up. It's not too late, but we do need to be making moves toward integrating AI into our customer success journeys, into the work that we're doing, into how we're managing and communicating with our team and customers. And so I think we'll continue to see that evolution grow. And the other thing that I think we'll see from AI is transforming what CSMs and CS leaders are doing in the day to day and giving them the ability to more effectively build those customer relationships that ultimately lead to the outcomes that we're after. And so I think just accepting AI in general as a practice and then starting to hone that skill. Get good at prompt engineering. Start to understand how AI works. Look up natural language processing. Figure out language models. Those are the kind of things that will empower the humans to leverage AI to do their jobs better. And so I don't think we have to worry right now about AI taking our jobs. I think what we worry about is AI is taking the mental load. So now what do I do to fill that space?
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, Kate, thank you very much. Great to meet you and learn from you. I wish you the very best with the house in Costa Rica and the surfing down there. It sounds fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll have to come visit.
I would love that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.